Hi, Josh. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Laura. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, thank you. Thanks for being here. So, before we get started, could you please tell us a little bit about Beep, what you do and how it all started?
Absolutely. So yeah, Beep as a company, we provide digital campus card systems to universities. So essentially, we take the little plastic cards that students have for access around the university, and we put it onto their phones. And the company was started a few years ago now, sort of pre-COVID, whilst I was still studying at the University of East Anglia, and only really got going in anger when I graduated. And essentially, the way that it started, it was almost a bit of an accident. We at the university, as I said, you had to have plastic cards to get everywhere. And being a student, I just used my phone for everything, including things like Apple Pay. So I never took my wallet with all my cards in anywhere. And then every time I rocked up to the library, I realised that I didn't have my card in my pocket and I needed to walk all the way home. And we thought, well, there must be an easier way to do this. Let's see if we can put it onto the phone. Reached out to the university, said, hey, you're going to let us have a play around with this? They said, yes, absolutely. So reached out to the university security provider, who then turned around and said, you know what, actually, this is something that a lot of our clients would like. Why don't you come on board and do that for everyone? Fast forward to now, and that's what Beep does. We work with some of the largest security providers in the world to provide that service to their clients in higher education. So yeah, that's a little bit about Beep.
Wow, that's fantastic. So it all started on the UEA campus in Norfolk.
Yeah, absolutely, nice. Yes. Yes.
So at what point in this journey did you think, okay, we need to pitch for angel investment?
I think to be honest, with a software company, we always knew that angel investment was going to be something that was required. I think specifically with we got our first investment from the university itself, which allowed us to sort of build out an MVP and sort of test it and get that initial validation. But the first time that we went and really realised that we needed further investment from and help from the likes of ACG was when it came to taking it to market. When you go and do a commercial launch and you want to scale up and sort of really start to get things going in anger, I suppose that was then. And for us, it was in the middle of COVID. So yeah, that support was very valuable.
So what was it like working with ACG and pitching to the angels?
Yeah, it's always good. To be honest, it's part of the part of the startup process that I like. You get to work with. ACG are obviously a great firm. We worked with them for several years. I spoke to Hannah when I first arrived at UEA, and had a relationship, just speaking and giving feedback on the platform for sort of 3 years before even our first pitch. So ACG always have a lot of support sort of in the local community, particularly for UEA startups. But in terms of working with investors, it's always good because they get excited about pitching, and if you're excited about what you do, then generally they do as well. So you're in among friends when you're pitching to investors, particularly those at ACG.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So if you had to give some advice to another startup who were just starting out and coming to their first pitch, what would you say?
Good luck. No, in terms of advice, I'd say broadly speaking, it's just, if you're talking about how to engage with investors, it's just a matter of being open and honest. Don't try paint over the cracks. They're expecting challenges. They're expecting competition in an early stage startup. That's part of the fun of it. So, and they invest in people as much as they do companies. So I think if you're open and honest, and they really get a sense that they're meeting the real person and seeing the real product and the real company, they're going to feel much more comfortable than if you just told them, you just painted them a picture of rainbows and daisies and everything's fine. They're gonna notice that something might not be right, and it's going to unsettle them a little bit. So yeah, just be open. Don't be afraid of them. Like I said earlier, they are very much people with the same mindset. They enjoy doing this. They enjoy startup companies, and they're happy to be there, and they want to hear about it. So chances are you'll find someone who's very similar to you.
Right, that's interesting what you say, because that's the feedback we get from our members is it's about people. They're investing in the people as much as the company or the technology or whatever.
Absolutely. Well, it's the same as anything, you know, you're not going to go into business with someone that you can't trust. You wouldn't buy anything from someone that you can't trust. And if they don't feel like they're getting honest, you know, an honest view of you and the company and who you are as a person, they're always just going to feel that little bit extra nervous. And if there's a little thing niggling in the back of their head that says, don't invest, you know, these people are businessmen, there'll be something that'll say, you know what, I'll sit out this round. So yeah, open and honest is probably the best advice I can give.
Advice. So obviously we know that angel investors are a good source of capital, but is there anything else that you feel your angel investors have brought to your business?
Well, it depends. You get different types of angel investors. Some that really want to be involved, and some that just go, okay, you know what? Here's money. If you need me, we'll be there. But otherwise, you know, look forward to seeing you when you exit, and it's grown. You know, they all like hearing about the company as it grows. I think with the ACG investors, it's interesting. They do tend to be a little bit more hands-on, which is good. Especially if you need some support or particularly introductions. You know, when you're first starting, if you're moving into a new industry. You know, if you can find an investor that's aligned with that industry, that knows what they're talking about, that can make those introductions, they add value obviously beyond just the capital that they're investing. And to be honest, you find quite a lot of that with ACG. I've found the ACG investors far more engaged and hands-on than any of the external investors, which isn't necessarily for everyone, but it's come in handy for sure at times.
Brilliant, great to hear. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about what your toughest challenge has been with setting up Beep?
Yes. I suppose, I mean, from a personal standpoint, getting going is always the toughest thing. You know, I did an English literature degree at UEA, and I think a lot of people that start in this space, so that's obviously nothing to do with the company that I have or anything to do with business. I think a lot of people that get into the startup space, they stop because they get something called imposter syndrome. It's something that's spoken about quite a lot, where you go, oh, you know, I'm not the person that can do this. This isn't for me. I don't know that I can face up to this challenge. When the first thing you do is realize that literally everyone feels like that when they get started. Everyone questions themselves. It's perfectly normal. So from a personal standpoint, that was the biggest challenge. In terms of Beep as a company, I think you know, professionally, our biggest challenge was definitely the first raise. You know, getting that first money over the line, building that MVP. To be honest, figuring out exactly what your company is, because it's great to have an idea, but that's not just what a company is. You have to build an ethos around it, and you have to really understand it and go and explore and understand the challenges that you're facing, the industry that you're getting into, and then find a way to convey that to people. And raising that initial investment, I mean, we overshot our timelines on our first investment round by a long way. You know, there were times where we were sat going, oh, you know, we're worried, we're not sure this is going to happen. And you fast forward to now and you go, well, it's bizarre that we were ever in that place. So yeah, there's definitely challenges, and I think it's just a matter of sort of checking your head, keeping calm, and just keep pushing and yeah, give it a go. It's fun if nothing else.
Oh, that's good to hear. And so what's your proudest moment been?
I think anything to do with, to be honest, just working with clients. I think the first time you get to see a product, your vision come to life when it's first been built and developed. You know, the MVP is always a nice stage, but when you actually get to see it being used in a commercial environment, seeing a client using it and getting the feedback where they're saying, you know what, they love it, it's something that they really enjoy. That's definitely a proud moment. It's something you love, especially when, you know, it's taken a few years for that vision to come to life. But also I think when you get to that point where people are starting to reach out to you, you know, the first part of starting any company is trying to push your wares, as it were, trying to sell, trying to go out and find leads. When the phone starts ringing and you've got companies and partners that are going, actually, you know, we've heard about you, we'd like to work with you. That's a really nice moment. That's a moment where you know that, okay, things are actually going well, people are talking about it. So yeah, I would say that, sorry, that's not really narrowed down to one single moment, but just whenever that happens, that's definitely a feel good moment.
Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling. Okay, so last question then. If we're looking ahead a little bit, can you give us a little idea of what's coming up for Beep and plans for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try and keep it short. But we've got a lot. It's quite exciting. Obviously, we just finished our latest investment round with ACG, which is fantastic. So we've got capital to grow. At the moment, we're working with about 1/3 of the universities in the UK. The investment that we've raised is to sort of help support that, bring all those contracts across the line, scale the team up a little bit. But really, what we're trying to do is get ourselves to our Series A, which we're hoping to be in next year. And that will really be the point where we look to grow, sort of expand beyond the UK. So set up offices. We are working with some clients internationally, but we'd like to set up offices in the US and in Australia. We're also working with some really cool partners to bring some new features, some new products that unfortunately I can't talk about in too much detail, but we're very excited to see where it goes. And we may also look to expand into other sectors, but right now it's sort of full steam ahead with the universities. There's plenty to keep us busy with in that space. So yeah, that's where we're going to stay. But yeah, exciting times for the future, for sure.
Great, thank you. That sounds really exciting. Congratulations on all your progress, and yeah, we look forward to hearing the updates as they come in.
No, thank you very much, and thank you for having me.